Okay, so I get to make a drum cake for this man, whose name is Curtis. He is retiring. The theme is drums, so I assume he's a musician, although I could be wrong. I don't have all the answers. But it's going to be 2 tiers. Design is up to us, which is great. I love having some freedom. But I do have to make a 3D drum kit as a topper, which is intimidating because I only vaguely understand a drum kit. But that's okay. One of our consultants is a musician and has confirmed what all of the things are. So I might not know really what it is, but I know enough that I can ask her any clarifying questions and hopefully build it to be at least semi-accurate, or at least identifiable as a drum kit. That's the goal. Okay, first step is kneading fondant, which you can't use fondant that you haven't kneaded, and then rolling it into logs that I'm going to cut, or that are going to be cut into little drums. I could, in theory, roll it into balls and then flatten them, but they won't have the same edge as they would if I sliced them. So slicing them as cleanly as possible with an X-Acto knife will help give them the kind of beginning of what's going to be a rim when details are added later on. One of the more interesting parts of building a complex figurine, in this situation a drum kit, is making it fit together. So with the drum kit, there are 2 drums I don't know the name of stacked on top of another drum that I don't know the name of, in a kind of a Y shape. So getting them to stay there and building the figurine topper, whatever you want to call it, building it so they will be structurally sound in that shape requires a little bit of planning and a lot of testing and watching things fall over because they don't like to stay where they belong. But that's a thing that happens. So the drums have, I don't know if they're technically faces or skins, or I don't know what they're called. Both of those things sound very creepy and like someone is going to skin you alive, so that's a little uncomfortable. But whatever you want to call it, the drums have them, gotta put them on the figurine. So rolling out white fondant, cutting it into circles that are about the same size as the drum, gluing that onto the face of the drum, and then, in my case, realizing that the kick drum does not actually have one of those, and I was full of shame and regret, and it was a little embarrassing, but not the end of the world. I was able to make it happen and make it work. So, tearing that off, you can still see on the back of the drum the remnants of what once was. My sins cannot be completely concealed. And then, also with fondant, rolling out what's going to be the metal rim of the drums, that I'll be painting silver later.
Hello. So what I do at Oakleaf is more administrative. So I'm taking all the orders, helping process things and do wedding cake tastings, things like that. But every now and then I'll walk by the decorator's table and just to see what they're working on. And I did this recently, and I also happen to be a musician. I'm a percussionist myself. And I noticed that one of our decorators, Sammi, was making this drum cake, and she's doing an awesome job. She's making a little drum set out of sugar. But I noticed she had done the bass drum head on the front as being red, and usually bass drum heads are either white or black. So I pointed that out, and it was a quick fix because she's awesome. So she turned it around. I think she put a white head or a black head and piped on there. It looked awesome. It was great. So I was happy to be a part of the process and help the team.
Oh, the cymbals. So, cymbals were made out of gum paste. They had to be rolled very thin so that they wouldn't just fall down because of their own weight. And that was tricky. Physically, like, making the different parts of the cymbal was pretty easy, but arranging them in a way that was structurally sound was very difficult. I am a bull in a china shop, and it's very difficult for me to be very delicate and precise with things, just because of who I am as a person. So, arranging these cymbals and building them in a way that they were staying where I put them was not easy. I kept moving them too much, and then the hole that the wire went through would be too big, and it was just a stressful disaster. Okay, not disaster, a stressful mess. It worked out in the end, and there wasn't any crying involved, so it wasn't actually a disaster. But I figured out that using royal icing to use as kind of a cement almost, so that they're a little more structurally sound than just using glue. I was able, I applied an unholy amount of royal icing and then used some of our handy tools to smooth it out so you didn't see the blobs and it just kind of disappeared into the white of the gum paste. And then waited for that to dry and painted it gold, not silver. Cymbals are not silver, they're gold. The drums have these little details on them that definitely have words for them, but I don't know what they are. But I had to pipe them on in royal because that's easier than rolling out tiny itty bitty little logs of fondant. And I know they have a name. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they do. I'm not a music. I'm an art and a cake. So that's that. But anyways, piped them on, painted the rims silver with a fun little highlighter. Basically, it's the same thing that was used for the cymbals, but silver instead of gold. And that was a fun time. So there was a very dramatic incident that I refused to tape because I was embarrassed. The cake was fondanted the night before it was due because it was being eaten pretty much immediately after pick-up time, and we needed it to be room temperature, so I fondanted it the night before, and everything was fine. But then I came in the next day, and there was a giant tumor on the side of it. There was an air bubble between the fondant and the side of the cake, and the fondant had dried out, so popping it was very difficult and time-consuming, and left these like permanent scars on the side of the cake that were like hand-sized, and I had to hide them, which was not easy. But royal icing is your friend. So I fought with the cake for a little while, used royal icing and some mad skills to hide that as best I could, and the design was up to me. So I was able to hide it a little bit better with stripes. Stripes are your friend. I love it when we have cakes that we can design, because anytime there's any mistake or something goes wrong, we can make it look like nothing wrong happened at any point. Oh, the graveyard. So I have really horrible handwriting, and it's gotten better, since I've been actively writing things to look nice for the last over a year since I started decorating. But my handwriting is not very good, and I'm very bad at spacing writing. So, you know, writing "Congratulations and best wishes on your retirement, Curtis," took an embarrassing amount of tries. I think the count was at least 5. I tell myself it was probably like 8, but maybe I'm just boosting my ego at that point. I don't know. But I kept spelling "congratulations" wrong, and then I got the spacing, like, inaccurate or wrong, so it looked weird. And then I spelled his name wrong, and then I spelled retirement wrong, and I just couldn't do anything right. It took me so many tries, and in the end, there was just a graveyard of smashed plaques that were half written on. It was just a plaque graveyard, and we all had a big laugh about it, and throwing out the graveyard of plaques was satisfying, because on one hand, terribly embarrassed that I can't write "congratulations" after all this time. You know, I have a I have a college degree. I should be able to spell "congratulations," but I cannot. However, taking those sins and throwing them into the trash was a moment of relief and freedom. So they wanted a specific drum kit. It was a Yamaha drum kit that was red and sparkly, which is great taste. If it's glittery, I want it. I just want to roll in glitter 100% of the time. So making it red and sparkly was like, yay! But writing the logo was slightly less yay, because it was a small drum, and I have bad handwriting and large fingers, so the fear was real. I could, in theory, have piped it in black. However, my piping skills are not on point enough for me to be able to pipe Yamaha on a space that's only like an inch long. So I did take our best black marker and write as neatly as I could, which coincidentally ended up looking much more like the logo than I had hoped, because I had low expectations. Because again, sausage fingers, bad handwriting, tiny surface, but it worked out for the best. So the cake turned out pretty good. I do like it. It looks very fun, and I showed it off to some of my friends, and everyone was super impressed. There are definitely things I wish I did a little differently, but I don't understand what a drum kit is made of, and I didn't know how to make one before, and I only vaguely understand what drums are to begin with. So I think, given my lack of expertise in the area, it came out pretty great. I do think it was cute. I love doing vertical stripes on cakes, so that was an added bonus. But it was definitely a great learning experience, and now I know how to make a drum kit out of sugar.